back with another episode of Martial Insight and Advice video series. We took a long break, but we're finally here. We're here with Morgan Kent, Spirit of the Heart. We're here to discuss many different things. His martial journey, as you know, all the questions I asked. But we're here to discuss one thing in particular, which is the Open Sparring Group, which was his brainchild. So first, thank you for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for the invite. I mean, I guess you came to me. You're here, you know. Truth be told, he didn't ask me. He showed up with a camera and he's like, I'm interviewing you. So, you know, it's fine. You have to agree with him.
You know how I do it.
Yeah, I'm not going to fight this guy over that. Really.
So I formed a bunch of questions that I like to ask martial artists, just to get insight, give my people some insight, my audience some insight into who the person is.
Sure. So I think a lot of people get like a much more exciting story than I do. I truthfully was 5 years old and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was on TV, and I thought that was really cool. And I asked my mom to sign me up for martial arts. I didn't really know too much about it. I just knew that it seemed cool and it seemed exciting. And you know, I was coming from a place of not being very coordinated. I had to do occupational therapy as a kid because my upper body strength development was just not really there, and it was affecting my handwriting and all sorts of things. So you know, I wasn't really successful at team sports for sure. So I did karate for a little bit, and then I bounced to Taekwondo, both here in Western Massachusetts in the hill towns, and I also did some Taekwondo at summer camps in New York City, visiting my grandparents. And you know, I tried all these different things, but you know, they didn't resonate with me for whatever reason. Maybe it was the instruction or the movement itself just didn't feel like what I wanted to do. And then my instructor that I have now, Nancy Rothenberg, came to what was my elementary school in Northampton and basically taught martial arts as the gym class. And you know, I kind of left martial arts behind. It had been 4 years since I'd done anything, and I sort of was back stuck in my way of like, I'm not coordinated, I'm not strong, you know, what's the point? And she came and brought the class, and I really liked the class, but truth, you know, it grabbed me, and I ended up going, and I tried it for a little bit, and I remember going to the weekend training retreat. We do one every summer. There's like 3 days training somewhere, and I was sparring with a woman who was in her 40s, and I was 13, and I was stupid, and I'm like, I got this, it's no problem, I'm young, I'm whatever, and she kicked the shit out of me in sparring, and I was like, I am never stopping this, you know. It felt like really powerful to me that I had this notion of, a completely unfounded notion, because I had no coordination, wasn't strong, wasn't fast, but just, you're a teenage boy and you're stupid, right? That I would be able to handle this, and I just couldn't. And yeah, so that's kind of where it came from. Is that the whole question, or I go on to it?
No,
okay.
You're fine.
All right.
Fine. Does Nancy still teach this course, or have you taken it over? Or?
Yeah, Nancy is very much running the program. We teach together. My title as a job title here is head instructor. So we probably try to teach all the classes together. These days our kids' classes are getting big enough that we just started renting a space 2 doors down from our studio. So we have 2 kids' classes happening at the same time, and we're hoping to start adding more classes in the future. We're talking about, we have a student who's deaf and does sign language. We're talking about classes for deaf people, and we're talking about more classes for students and more classes for more age ranges. So I would say me and her both very much do it together right now.
How about in the school system?
In the school system, so we used to do a lot of outside programs. I used to be the guy who went out and did all of the satellite programs. I've done probably every elementary school in Northampton, Sunderland. I did some Greenfield schools. These days we've been playing with the idea of consolidating and bringing everything here, all of our energy to one place, which has been pretty successful, honestly, to just kind of be like, here's where we are, and people will come to us, and you know, for whatever reason, that's been working better these days. I do still teach a class for kids with special needs on Fridays at a place called Whole Children in Northampton. And in the past, we've done programs at the colleges, but those just aren't happening right now because I think they're still coming back from COVID and catching up financially. But we still are very much interested in doing outside programs. Just not as much is happening at this moment.
Very commendable. All
Yeah.
the programs you got running for the children and things like that.
Yeah.
I was never one big on training children
Right.
because of many different reasons.
Sure.
Just
Well,
listening to you talk about that, it's pretty.
yeah, I mean, for me, I certainly prefer teaching adults and teens. I like getting into the nitty gritty there. But with kids, it's hard for me not to, see a kid come in who is not very coordinated and not very comfortable athletically, and not see myself in them. Like if I walked into anybody's school when I first started doing this, it would be unrecognizable. Right, so it's hard for me not to see myself in kids who are struggling, and my whole belief is that I didn't get this way because of talent. I got this way because of hard work and dedication, and being willing to look at any faults that I had as a person, as a martial artist, whatever, and to work on that. So, I just feel really passionate about helping all ages with that. But I certainly see kids who are struggling with feeling that way and wanting to help them. Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Okay, so here's what I actually tell a lot of students these days, and this is maybe different for other people who are teachers. I am still super passionate about getting better. I don't run open sparring or teach any of my classes thinking that I'm the best at anything. I run everything feeling like I'm growing and I'm changing, and I feel like that's going to be true forever. In some ways, I never want to be considered a master of anything. I want to be, in fact, when people sometimes call me master or something, just, 4 degrees or whatever, I don't like it, right? I want to be at all times thinking about growing and changing. So I tell my students that I want them to be better and stronger so that they can become better and stronger, go out into the world and take their training into anything they do in their life, but which is definitely true. But selfishly, I also want them to get better, because as long as they're getting better and I'm training with them, I'm going to get better. So I believe in like the cyclical process of, as I build them up, they're going to build me up. Oh my God. If I didn't do this, I have no idea what I'd be doing. It's really unclear. I don't know. I can't even imagine it. It's so much like a part of my being. It's like I don't have an answer for you. I honestly cannot imagine myself doing any of this stuff. I guess if I get hit by a car and I'm a paraplegic, I'll figure it out, but I really,
I feel the same way.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I bet people have better answers than that. I don't have an answer.
No, that's fine. I totally understand. I feel the same way. It's not what I do, it's who I am.
Right. And also, like, part of it also to me is like the martial art that we train in, the specific kind of seal-out that we do, is so small. There's so few schools that do it. And by my estimation, looking on the internet at people doing things, I don't know if there's anybody else like me who is as passionate about teaching it, as passionate about training it, as passionate about, and this is a big one, evolving it. There's plenty of people who are just stuck in the cycle of like, this is the thing, and this is what Pukalan is, or whatever. And I don't believe that it should be like that. I feel like we should be growing and changing and adjusting. And so I also just sort of feel like I have a, besides my own need to feel like this is what I do and this is always what I do, I feel like I'm one of very few caretakers of this art going into the future. And is my version of this art different than other people in the past? Probably, but I think that's true with anybody who trains in something long enough and begins to teach it. So I don't know, I feel like it has to keep going. I feel really passionate about it. There's small periods of time where I wish that I had done like a kickboxing fight or an MMA fight just to challenge myself in that way. There's part of me that feels like I want to have, and not like I can't still do it, there's still plenty of time obviously, that I want to do that and really challenge myself and put myself out there. But the other part of me is really honest with myself and saying like, yes, I love doing this, yes, I love training, I love pushing myself. I don't think I could hurt somebody for a trophy. You know what I mean? I just don't feel like, and hats off to people who can, I really respect that, and like I said, part of me wishes I could. I think I'd have a really hard time with that. I don't think I'm like, could be competitive and bring that level of violence to something that's just getting not paid enough. or getting a little medal or something. But you know, so I'm back and forth on that. My personal goal is just to keep growing, and I think that means a lot of things. I think that means obviously my skill, my technique, my athleticism, whatever. I also think it means, you know, martial arts to me is also growing as a person. You know, like my ability to communicate with people has changed because of martial arts. My ability to walk down the street confidently, my ability to just feel like I can assert myself and be there. So I want to keep growing and changing, and I want to help other people keep growing and changing for as long as they want to train for me, or even if they train with me for a certain amount of time and they're in a stuck place and they need to train somewhere else, helping them to encourage that they can go there and keep training and keep growing. You know, I think everybody's path is different, and it's all just about how we evolve and become better people while we are still on this planet. I think especially these days, you know, I'm gonna sound like an angry old man, even though I promise I'm a young millennial. I think that in particular, there's a lot of benefit to posting things on social media, videos, whatever, of techniques. I think there's a lot of value there because it gets your word out there and it gets people to notice you. There's a lot of people also, because everything is so like quick, they just want to get, here's the technique. Oh, I learned an arm bar and now I've got it. You know, instead of saying like, well, how does that arm bar work on this person who's bigger? How does this kick work when someone has a much longer leg, smaller torso? What does anything work with a lot more variables involved? People, I think, just want to have like a volume of things, and then they like to say, I know a volume of things, right? Instead of just like being confident with what they have and working with what they have, it's like, I know this, and I know that, and I know that. Yeah, I think understanding is really overrated. It's not, is underrated by most people. You know, I tell my students all the time, and we've had that post black belt is, for us anyway, I can't speak for anybody else, is a lot less brand new technique and a lot more understanding or recognizing how little you know about the techniques that you thought you knew, right? And then what I believe gets people beyond that point is recognizing that and being willing to realize that you don't know what you thought you knew, and then adjusting and studying and going deeper in that way.
Like self-protection.
Oh, for sure. Like sport first, or yeah.
Sport.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think it really matters what context you're talking about. I think a sport context is not going to talk about striking to vulnerable targets, for sure, like eyes, throat, groin, whatever, those things. And that changes the game in a lot of ways. I think training for aesthetic, when you get these really big movements, I think there's something in really big movements that can teach you about biomechanics and things like that. But I like to say that when you do a form that has really big movements, it's like you've given the preschooler a coloring page with really big boxes. And the big movements are there so you can really feel what the movement is, and then as you get better, you can tighten it up, make it a little more refined, put it in different angles, whatever. So yeah, I think it's night and day depending on how you train. I think the more that people recognize that, the more we can kind of respect each other and what we do differently.
Nice answer.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. I watched the show. I like to believe that we train in more of a self-defined defense mindset. We do a lot of work with these days, the kids especially, but everybody, with not just the physical skills of where to strike, how to get your stance, whatever. We do a lot of work with de-escalation, how to create verbal situations where you can kind of talk somebody down, work on setting limits. You know, we kind of believe that self-defense doesn't start with big man in the rubber suit is choking you and you kick him in the groin 20 times for a minute. You know, we kind of believe that self-defense starts with here's this person who is just a little bit too in your space, and he's always in your space, and he's like getting, and he's making you uncomfortable, and you didn't set a limit in time. You know, we believe in kind of teaching people that you have to teach people how to treat you first, and then the physical things maybe don't have to happen at all. And then as far as physical skills that we teach, you know, we train standing up, we train on the ground, we do a lot of striking. And, you know, in sparring, we obviously aren't hitting people in the throat, although groin is allowed, although I say frowned upon, but it is allowed here. But we certainly are practicing striking to vulnerable targets. You know, like if someone throws a strike to the throat, we often just kind of stop it before it gets there, and the person will acknowledge, like, all right, you got me, good shot, you know. We try to train with that in mind and just do it as safe as we can. But I'm probably sportier than I should be. You know what I mean? Like, I like to think I'm self-defense minded, but if you spar, I think if you spar a lot, it's hard not to slip into sportiness a little bit. Wouldn't you agree? You know what I mean? Like, because you have to, because if you're really, you can't do what you do 100% without hurting your people, and then they're either gonna stay or not stay. But it's like, you know, you have to kind of rein it in a little bit. So the more sparring you do, I think the better you do with timing, distance, whatever. But like, it does get sportier. I don't know. If there's a way not to do that, I haven't figured it out, but I'm still growing and learning.
Yeah, well, as far as sparring goes, I'm not big on sparring.
Sure.
I come to Open Sparring Group, but because it conditions you to do things that go against.
Of course, yes.
So
right, you stay in there. Right, you stay in there. Right, in sparring, because it's a 2-minute round, you stay in there and you take shots.
Yes.
You stay in and you take shots. Right. So to me, I try to impart on my students, like, when they hit you, you have to recognize that they hit you, and you have to be like, acknowledge it. You can't just ignore it. You know. And I think sometimes when people are sparring, there's no discussion about that at all. It's just like, I'm in there and I'm just wailing on you, and it's not, you're right, it's not very realistic. So I think the best that I feel like I can do is try to verbally educate people on that and try to get them to acknowledge it as much as they can. Yeah. I am much more, let's talk about the context of open sparring. I feel much more experimental and much more, I would say experimental. So I come to open sparring, I guess we'll talk about open sparring more, but when I have open sparring and I have someone do a technique on me, I try not to necessarily mimic that technique completely, because I think that it would be, you know, a little egotistical to say someone puts a grab on me or throw on me and I'm just gonna get it because of that. But I like to see that space and say to myself, okay, well, here's the skills that I have. What are the principles in what I've learned that I can reorient to this position, this technique, this, you know, because I feel like what we have in all of our martial arts, whether it's delved deep into enough or not, is all that we need. It's more about what the practitioner can read into about that. You know, so I feel like I'm really much more in my head in a way about how to re-examine what I already know and make it work in positions that maybe it wasn't designed on paper to do, but can. This is the part we're supposed to say you? Is this the trick question where we're supposed to be like, well, I love Randy Haskins. He's a great stand-up guy. He's got a great beard. It could be longer, but he decided to cut it.
I should have never cut it.
No, well, you didn't ask me. Well, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of like aesthetically people in movies, obviously, is like the easy answer. And there's certainly that. It's bits and pieces. You know, I don't think that there's like a person that I respect 100% everything that they do. But just about anybody, I try to find something that I really respect and take from them. You know what I mean? Like, I try to really have this open mind about, even if I've done some martial arts seminars that, different retreats that have just been maybe kind of nonsensical from my perspective, but I try to, even in those moments where I'm really not feeling it, saying to myself, what does this person have in there that has value? Because I think there always is something. Let's see. People. You know, MMA people, I like Israel Adesanya, 'cause he's a striker, you know, so like I have a soft spot for him, and he's like a huge nerd, so like that speaks to me as someone who is a secret super nerd outside of the black belt and the push-ups and all that. I don't know, big Jackie Chan fan for the aesthetics. I love the athleticism there. I really like, as a Sea-Lock guy, Iko Uwais, who's in the Raid movies, if you've seen those. I really like him, but I'm also, I have like a professional courtesy as the guy who made one of like 3 Sea-Lock movies ever to be like, that guy's good. Yeah.
As far as promotion. Would you, if you got a student in who was just a natural, and let's say you had I don't know, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, for instance, they have a kind of a standard of 10 years to black belt. You get somebody in who's a natural, and I don't know if you have a standard for your system, but let's say you had a standard of 7 years to black belt, but you had somebody who was really just a natural.
Yeah.
And would you promote them in 2 years? Would you wait to 7?
Yeah, so we believe that everybody's path is different, and that should be honored. So if somebody is really talented, but like really good at all their strikes, they're really good sparring, whatever, but they haven't quite memorized or gotten their technique as far as what our curriculum is up to that level, memory-wise, knowledge-wise, ability perform-wise, we wouldn't test them just from their skill set, right? But that being said, if someone's like really a natural at it and they pick up all the material, we would promote them as their skill set would demonstrate. There's have been times where we have people who've moved through the ranks very quickly. We've also had times where people have moved through the ranks very quickly, and then when their ego starts going to a weird place, we rein it in. We're like, and we'll talk to them. We're the kind of school that says like, listen, you're good at this, this, and this. However, when you are sparring with other students, you're not really letting them grow. You're just smashing them and not being a productive member of this class. You have the skill set to do both, right? So as far as building them up as a strong martial artist, which to us means not only your technique, your ability to perform technique, we also believe that it's your how you've grown as a human being, your leadership qualities, your ability to take what you've learned and be kind to other people and kind of be like a stand-up person. We kind of believe in that being an important part of what Spirit of the Heart means. It kind of goes with the name, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that too Northampton, kind of sappy?
No. That term that's thrown around, high level, what is the determining factor that would...
To me, it's their ability to work with people who aren't very good, right? So if someone is able to just smash everybody in the room, that's pretty cool to me. But if that person can smash everybody in the room, but when they're working with a 5-year-old, like move with them in not a condescending way, but like you're really there and you're really present and you're like letting them throw their technique and you're throwing technique at them, but it's like really clear and controlled, that to me is high level. It's your ability to perform the actions that you need to perform, demonstrate your technique in a way that clearly shows your skill set, that isn't just, I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm faster, right? That to me is high level, right? And if you can also do that with somebody and do it really powerfully strong, whatever, mess them up, perfect. But I think it's being able to do both things. I think if you can only do one, if you're like just good at the teaching part and just good at the beat people up part and not help them grow part, I think you're like halfway on your development as a martial artist, personally. But that's probably controversial. Maybe not.
So I named this show Martial Insight and Advice. So right now we're at question 13,
Okay.
and this question incorporates the title.
I think you just got to do it. I think the number one thing that prevents people from committing to martial arts or any practice at all is just the conversation of, oh, I'm going to look online and see what I want to do. Maybe I want to do yoga. Maybe I want to dance. This place seems cool. And then you sit on it and you don't do anything. Just do it. Just get out of the house, right? I think if you're supposed to get out of the house and just keep going. I had a student who, for example, was in her 50s, and everybody who'd gotten a black belt here had been in their 20s for a long time, and she started to say to me before she got her black belt, she's like, I don't know if I'm gonna get it, I don't know, everyone's young. And I was like, stop talking, come to class next week. I don't wanna have this conversation, just come next week. And she did fine. So she did a great test, she nailed it, she was really there and present, and I think really deserved that level. And I bring that story up to just say that it's not a matter of when you show up if you're really good at it. It's a matter of when you show up, are you really passionate about it? Are you willing to keep coming back? And if you are, just keep going, right? If you keep going and you're passionate about growing and changing and being better, it's gonna get there. It might not get there as fast as some other guy, but you'll get there. You have to just want it.
Now, I want you to take the time and tell us more about Open Sparring.
Sure. Yeah. So I started Open Sparring Group, I don't know, it's hard to say with COVID now. I'm gonna say 6-7 years ago. And I started it because selfishly, I felt like I had been training and teaching for so long that inevitably the people I was sparring with and training with were doing the things that I told them to do. So because I'm telling them to do it, I'm like, okay, well, if you're gonna do this thing that I told you to do, I'm gonna do this thing that I told you to do last week, but you forgot because you're not here 5 days a week every day, right? So, but really what it's become to me is this really important group where we can bring different martial arts schools, different practitioners from all over the area. Anyone who wants to come can come together and train together and work on getting better and improving and sharing their technique. And I think it's just been a really powerful thing in this area that everybody can do that and not have huge egos involved and just kind of be willing to put themselves out there and challenge themselves. And I've been told by people who've come that there aren't many things like this out there, so I feel really proud of creating that. I know that a lot of martial arts systems, politics and rivalries get in the way, and I'm really happy to kind of create a forum where everyone can train and get better, and we can kind of remove that from happening, you know? Hopefully.
No, it's definitely good. Like I said, I've been here since the second one and strongly enjoy it. And in that time, we've seen the egos, we've seen attitudes prevail.
A lot of those guys don't show up though.
Yeah,
the people who have an attitude and think, the people who come in with an attitude and feel like they're like the best and they come in and just smash people, they stop coming at a certain point because it's just not the vibe. You know, like the vibe, and I'm not saying that the vibe here certainly isn't like everybody lightly touch and play patty cake with each other. I mean, people are really, I think, sparring here and putting their best effort out there, but you know, we're not here to like see how well you can knock out the 17-year-old who came here to practice his kicks.
You are right. The egos and attitudes are short-lived. They weed themselves out, they leave, and it maintains to be a great atmosphere.
Right. The high level, going back to high level people don't do that, by the way. High level people show up and just like do their thing and let their skills speak for themselves. They don't need to like, you know, hit super hard, throw really hard. If they're really good, you're gonna be like, that guy was really good. Yeah.
Good job. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the support.
Most definitely. All right. Hey, listen. Spirit of the Heart in East Hampton. What's the address?
186 Northampton Street in East Hampton. You can come try a free class with us. You can check our website, spiritoftheheart.org. There's information there about our C-Lock classes for kids, adults, and there's also information about our open sparring group. So if you're interested in being a part of any of those things, look me up. You know where to find me.
Morgan Kent. Great atmosphere. Very sound human being. I encourage you, come check it out.
So ultimately what this event became to me is sort of like an anti-tournament, right? I went to a lot of tournaments as a teenager, and if you like doing tournaments, I completely understand. For me, I spent a lot of money to get a cheap trophy that I threw away eventually, and I never felt like I learned very much. But what I liked about the idea of a tournament was different martial arts schools coming together and training with each other, and especially the idea of getting out of your comfort zone. Because no matter how hard you're training, if you are training at your school 5 times a week, you're still just training with your own people, right? And even if you come to this event and your skill set works against everybody a lot, there's gonna be someone doing something a little weird, a little different, that you're not used to, that's gonna make you rethink what you're doing. I think that's just a really good thought exercise for your training. I think it helps you keep you have a beginner's mind about everything, and I hope that it's a way to, you know, when you go back to train on your own with your own school, that you kind of workshop, like, oh, well, I do this technique and it didn't work there, so how can I use the same technique a little different? How can I relook at it, right? The longer I train, the more that I realize that we all just do the the way that you begin to look at it as you experiment with it, play with it, different body types, different people, different martial arts, different ages, whatever, that's what kind of helps bring you up to this more advanced level that I hope to keep working towards. You can take more breaks in between, all right?
Let me go for toes.
All right, one more 1 minute.
A little bit of practice.
Oh, yeah. Look around, find space, go.
Doing takedowns as well or just striking? Okay.
Intermission.
Like, something up, I don't know what, but...
I know, the hand's gonna come when I go on.
Sorry guys, let's go that direction.
Alright, so before we take a picture, I just want to end with kind of just sharing this little piece. So in our martial art, the big thing that we really play with a lot is a lot of free movement and a lot of self-discovery, like a lot of work your own combinations, a lot of flow work. So we kind of train with this idea of like always exploring the art in ways that aren't just do this drill over and over and over. So I sort of, to us, it's really natural to kind of like want to go out of our comfort zone and play with different things. And I just appreciate everyone coming out and doing that with us. We say at the end, every one of our classes ends with saying Gautama Jang, which translates to roughly we all learn from each other. So we really try to have this idea that is given like a mantra every day that we show up that everybody's here contributing and learning, no matter where you come from. What you do, you have something to offer. So thanks for get Tom Rajami with us today.
Tom Rajami.
So if we could just take a group photo over there so everyone knows who stayed and who left, and then and let it be known that if you stayed, I do respect you